Hello, and thanks so much for joining me today. My name's Anna Hellman, and today I'm really excited to share with you a tissue stamping technique using one of our new and really cute stamp sets. So first I wanted to show you 3 samples, and then we're going to create a different one today with our new Sweet as a Peach stamp set. So first I'll show you, this was my very first tissue stamping card that I made years ago. So what this is a really easy technique that you can use. You stamp just the same as normal. You're just doing it on tissue paper, and then you apply that over some cardstock, put your card together, and you have a really beautiful technique that adds a lot to your card, really without much extra work. So that was my first one I made years ago. Here is one that I made at a card class not too long ago with our Dragonfly Garden stamp set and the coordinating Dragonfly punch. Really liked how that one turned out. And here's one. I actually just made this for my Stampin' Up! Team, our virtual meeting we had last week. We created this together for our mystery stamping project. And for this one, I used the hand-penned petals stamp set. So this is another gorgeous new one in the set where you can stamp the outlines, and then you have all of the fill-in stamps for the flowers and the leaves that you can add the color to it. So those are just a few samples to give you an idea of what you can do with this tissue stamping technique. Now let's create one together. So what you're going to need is a piece of tissue paper a little bit larger than what your cardstock is going to end up being. Now, we're going to do our dimensions the same as for this card. It's just going to look different because we're using different stamps and colors. So you need your 5.5 by 8.5 card base. You need a mat that measures 4 by 5.25. And then the tissue piece, when it's all done, this piece is going to measure 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So you need a piece of cardstock underneath that measures those dimensions. You're going to attach this to, but this needs to be larger when we start. So you may want to start with maybe 5 by 6, 4.5 by 6, something like that. So I'm going to bring in my peach stamps. Here is the Sweet as a Peach stamp set. So this is what I'm going to use for this. We're going to use this large leaf and the little peaches that fit onto the branch so they look like they're growing on the tree. So we'll use that. I'm going to use a couple of our new in colors. This is our soft succulent color. And I want to stamp these and make it look like this branch is hanging down some. So I'll stamp 2 of those, and then I want to fill in over here a little bit. So I'll make 1 of those coming off to the side. Now this is our pale papaya color. And when you line up these stamps, there's a little notch in the peach itself where you can line up with the stems. So try to get those lined up. Now, there are different kinds of tissue paper I've discovered. There are some types that are waxier and some types that are more papery. And if you have your choice, I would select the more papery type. If you get the waxier type, it takes longer for your ink to dry. You may even have to dry it yourself with a heat tool, or just let it set aside for a while to dry. But like I said, if you have your choice, I would choose the paper type. Now, I am going to add a greeting. This is the first time I've actually stamped a greeting on one of these. And we are going to see how it works, because with the wrinkles that we add here in a little bit, it may or may not show up correctly, but we're going to try it and find out. So I can tell that this needs some help drying. So I'm going to use my heat tool here, dry this for a few seconds, and be right back. Okay, so our ink is dry now, I believe. Still have a little bit on the background here. Now, what we are going to do, which is a little bit hard to think of sometimes with something you've stamped, but we are going to crumple this up. So you want to get lots of nice little folds in your tissue paper. So crumple it up into a nice little ball, and then You're going to open it back up, but you don't want to open it back up all the way. You don't want to smooth it out. Basically just unfold it and let it lay just like that without smoothing it, okay? So we still have a lot of ruffleage there. Now I'm going to bring in the piece of cardstock I wanted to attach this to. This measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, like I said. Now in all of my samples, I take that back. On 2 of my samples, the cardstock piece I put underneath was actually white. I take that back. This one, the cardstock piece I put underneath is white. These two appear to be crumb cake underneath. So you can see the difference in that appearance and how white this one looks and how these look a little bit more neutral. So on this one, I decided to try another color. So I'm using this pale papaya. Now to attach this to cardstock, we have a couple of options. You can use a regular old glue stick. If you don't have a glue stick or want a different option, you can actually use the large end of your glue. You don't see me use this very often, and use that tip to spread this glue all around. The key is just to make sure that you get all the way to the edges and the corners. So I prefer just to use the glue stick. So we'll go all the way around, get the edges, get everywhere in between, and then just to make sure those edges are going to get stuck, I like to go back around them one more time. So then you want to make sure this is unfolded enough to cover your whole piece of cardstock. And once it's laying over top, you just want to press down, but not really smooth it. So, got it attached. I can see it's covering all the cardstock. I just want to press and not smooth, just keep pressing, and that is going to give you some of that really neat texture. Once it's all good and pressed down, you can use either a trimmer or some scissors to trim the excess off. And then we are ready to put this on our card. So like I said, when I stamped that greeting, this is the first time I've ever tried it with a greeting. If you're going to try it with a greeting, I would definitely encourage you to choose one with larger and bolder letters rather than smaller ones. It will just be a little bit more clear. So I like how this turned out. It's not as clear and as obvious as if I would have just stamped it on a regular card, but you can definitely still read that. So this is our piece. I'm going to trim this up just a little better. And we are ready to attach this to the card. So I already prepped the card base with the mat on top that measures 4 by 5 1/4. Get this mounted on top the right way. And let's add a few little gems. Should we do green, yellow? These are new in colors. I really like these gems. And you may have noticed earlier in the video, I'd kind of flubbed up my greeting a little bit. I had a little extra dot of ink there, so seems like a good spot to put a few little gems and cover that up. So let's look at that up close so you can see and appreciate the texture and the greeting. So I'll bring back in these other samples. I just think this is a really neat technique. It's really easy to try and you really get beautiful results. So hope you will try this out. If you love any of these new stamp sets, you can add those to your next order. You can find ordering links for the products I used today in the video description below. I really appreciate when you shop with me, and I appreciate you being here to watch along and comment on my videos and help to share them and spread the word for the things I share. So make sure you subscribe to my channel. Have a wonderful day. I will see you again next time when I will be back helping you to hand make with love.